If you're an entrepreneur and considering business immigration to the UK, you're probably exploring different business immigration pathways into the UK. Now, you may have come across the UK's Innovator Founder Visa, which I create a lot of content about, but there is also another pathway called the self-sponsorship route. And in this video, I will highlight 5 key facts about the UK's self-sponsorship pathway, which I believe will be helpful to you. So let's get into it. First things first, I will just give you a bit of a brief background about me and who I am in case you haven't seen my videos before. And if it's your first time in this channel, welcome to my channel. I'm a business consultant and former technology entrepreneur. I moved to the UK when I was 17 years old on a student visa. After finishing my master's degree in law at Newcastle University, I obtained a former visa called the Tier 1 Graduate Entrepreneur Visa. And then I switched to another visa called the Tier 1 Entrepreneur Visa Scheme. And through that visa, I scaled a tech venture to over 30 UK cities. I hired a total of 13 people across 4 jobs, and ultimately I achieved settlement and British citizenship. Now, after the COVID pandemic, I had to shut my previous tech startup down. It's just the nature of entrepreneurship that, bad things can happen. And I transitioned into business consulting. Now, just recently, about just over a month ago, we launched an immigration and commercial advisory firm called Verus Migration, alongside my business partner and co-founder, who is an immigration advisor regulated by the Immigration Advice Authority. We're really expanding the range of help that we provide to entrepreneurs because we believe that business immigration requires not only expert regulated immigration advice. I'm going to get into that later at the end of this video, but also you need that commercial dimension, which I provide through a decade of experience in the startup scene. So that's me. Now let's go into the self-sponsorship pathway. So let's start with the basics. The first thing you need to know about the self-sponsorship pathway is that it's not actually an official visa category. There is no such thing called as the self-sponsorship visa. Rather, it's actually a strategic approach to obtaining a skilled worker visa in the UK. And the way that works is that you register a company in the UK and you obtain a sponsor license, which is essentially the license that allows you to employ non-UK nationals in the UK. And once you do that, then you sponsor yourself for a skilled worker visa. Now, in the abstract, it may seem relatively simple, but I can assure you it's the furthest thing from simple. That's just how it is, because there's a lot of, as the famous quote says, the devil is in the details. And there's a lot of complexities and details involved in that process. And in this video, I will highlight some of them so that if you are considering this approach or you decide to proceed with it, you proceed with full knowledge about the self-sponsorship pathway. Okay, one of the key facets of the self-sponsorship pathway, and one that I would say a lot of people may struggle with, is that you actually need a UK-based authorizing officer. This is an individual / employee within the business who has the authority to manage the company's sponsor license duties and pretty much overall have a general observation and management of the sponsor license duties, which is granted by the UK Home Office. Now, the key things that you have to bear in mind about this is that this person needs to be either a UK national or somebody who has indefinite leave to remain in the UK and lives in the UK. So very important that this is not just about following certain procedures or having a certain level of funds or anything like that, but you actually need this person. And that's perhaps one of the things that many people lack. So there's that one. Another key dimension of the self-sponsorship pathway which I would say, again, it's becoming an area of doubt and ambiguity for a lot of people, is that the job that you offer yourself in the company, it needs to be on a minimum level of RQF level 6. That is the regulated qualifications framework. Okay. And RQF level 6 means that the job normally requires a university degree. However, the misconception that a lot of people have is that they actually need to have a bachelor's degree, a minimum of a bachelor's degree, in order to be able to get that visa. And that's incorrect. You don't necessarily need a degree. However, the job level itself needs to be on RQF level 6, which requires a university degree. Therefore, it's really up to you to demonstrate how you possess the skill set to meet the requirements of that role. But it doesn't mean that you necessarily need a university degree. Another key point and challenge for a lot of non-residents is that in order to obtain the sponsor license, you will need to meet several requirements. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will just highlight some of the important ones. Now, the most important one is that you need to actually have a UK business bank account for that company. And this is something that a lot of people who are based outside the UK will potentially struggle with, because it's not exactly easy to open a UK business bank account when you're not based in the UK yourself and you're not a UK national. So that's something that you will definitely have to navigate before pursuing this path, and you need to make sure that it's addressed. And lastly, what I would like to say, which is I would say I've briefly highlighted at the beginning of this video, is that this is a very complicated process. As I said, this is not an official visa pathway. Okay, there is a lot of details and complexities involved in the process. In my belief, it's crucial and absolutely necessary to engage a regulated immigration advisor in this process to obtain the sponsor license, and ideally the skilled worker visa application as well. And this is something that we can help with, and through our firm Verus Migration. Now, with regards to sponsor license applications and other visa applications, any form of immigration advisory, this is all handled by my business partner Dennis. Dennis is an immigration advisor who is regulated by the Immigration Advice Authority in the UK, formerly known as the OISC. And I've said this several times, that if you're about to obtain immigration advice or services, you have to make sure that they're regulated by the relevant bodies. Now, in this case, it could be the IAA, it could be the Solicitors Regulation Authority, known as SRA, and some other bodies as well. So that's very, very important. I hope this video helps. And if you wish to find out more about this and perhaps see if you're eligible for it or if it's the right pathway for you, feel free to get in touch with me, and I will refer you to my business partner, Dennis, who can make a full evaluation of your case and advise you accordingly. See you later.